Fan Tong Ling Ming. Today we continue on the kidneys and bladder, information. And information is the catalyst for healing, because information assures that transformation can happen. It's time for a few stories. It's time for a little bit of feedback. I know I love when Janse tells us stories, or when people come up to the stage to tell stories about their positive results. And I know you guys love stories too. And this time we have stories that are backed up by some forms of Western science. So one of our students, our fellow Ren Shui people, has he's practicing Yuan Gong, he's participating in the web class, and he's doing currently some sessions with me as well. And so 3 months ago, November, so 3.5 months ago, something like that, he had a scan, and this week, beginning of this week, he had another scan about his lung cancer, and there have been several tumors in the lung. We have the scans to prove it in the last 3 months. All of them have decreased in size for 17%, is I think he told me. And it's clearly visible on the scans in only 3 months. So, guys, take it in. If you have a similar problem, continue to go ahead. Just keep on working with Qi according to the laws of human health and the universe and the laws of Qi, and with your consciousness, since the pattern work is important. Someone else also is dealing with lung cancer currently, and her scans also were very promising. So the tumor in the lungs are getting smaller. We don't have a number on that, but you will be able to see it on the scans. I hope that one day we can have the scans, and so we can show them, so we can look at them, helping us to really, our patterns of the consciousness are really trained on needing proof on the visual level for now. And so it is good to see progress on scans. Her lymph nodes, the lymph nodes of this person, where the tumors are getting smaller, as well, but the lymph nodes activity was just a few months ago. I think she's having a scan all 2.5 months. They were on 5, the activity in the lymph nodes, the cancerous activity, and now they're on 0. So that's a very good sign. So onwards, and I got a lot of thank yous and a lot of love coming my way for the healing series. So thank you guys for that. I'm just happy it really also works. And because it took a little bit of bravery of my side to change into a lot of information completely without the practicing. But as always, you can practice by yourself. And I rather use this medium to bring you information, to catalyst transformation. So we have more results, and this is an interesting one. So another student with lung cancer is having, as far as I know, really good results from Renshe, because, her whole attitude has changed, and she feels often very healthy and very well. The student has a really, well, everybody who knows him thinks one word fits: amazing husband. She's probably gonna roll her eyes right now. Also, she knows, but that's her reaction to that. Maybe she's a bit fed up with everybody talking about how special her husband is. We all love him dearly, everybody knows him. And that expands into the Sweden retreat, into the Sweden Renshui Chi field, also into the global Renshui Chi field, really. And I talk about him because he's done something interesting. So his wife currently is visiting her children, and so they're separated for a few months, which is very difficult on them. You know what she said? I hope it's okay. I'm blathering all of this out here, but I'm pretty sure. She said, "My emotional home is where my husband is. So if he would be here, my world would be just perfect." Isn't that touching? And they have 3 kids together, and if someone can say that, who has, maybe I should say has had cancer, so we have this information in the Chi field. She can say that in her situation, that everything would be perfect, it's just her husband would be with her. So isn't that gorgeous? Anyway, that husband was watching the web class, and what they do, because of his wife's cancer, is they do measure the pH level in the urines daily, as far as I am understanding it. And maybe I should just read you his story, because I have got the story, and it's better so I don't get any facts wrong. Let's have a look. Just enjoy, maybe close your eyes and just enjoy the story. It's really gorgeous. Let's have a look. Where might it be? Here. Hold on a moment. It's not here. Let's have a look. I need to find it. I meant to only talk about this. Maybe I haven't yet. That's a little interesting. Okay. I think I have to keep telling you the story because I can't find it where I've stored it. I'm sure I stored it somewhere. Okay. So I keep telling you the story. So they measure the urine every day, and because he's also measuring his urine. Why are they measuring the urine and the pH level in their urine? Because that's Western science tells that cancer is existing in a body that is very acidic. So if the body is not acidic or acid, full of acid, then the cancer cannot survive in there. That's what he wrote. So what we want to get to actually is the usual measurement is between, I think he said something from 4 to 6.2 or something, and 6.2 would be very high, good level in not being acidic. And so he was measuring in the morning, and then he was watching a web class. And the web class was about lung qi, actually. It was just 2 or 3 weeks ago. And he wrote that suddenly he had a really strong urge to needing to go to the toilet, to urinate. And so he thought this was a bit strange, because he usually goes before the web class and then doesn't have to go. And so he figured he's going to test that urine from web class that was in the middle of the web class. And so he did that. And then, I don't know exactly how that works. All I know is he said that then he came back. But, so maybe he kept the urine and measured it afterwards or something, but anyway, he wrote me afterwards, I have to write you because I have to let you know. So I tested it again after the web class. It's just, you have to have the idea, how cool is that? And so you won't believe it, but the amount that was shown is, during web class, was 8.0, which is the highest level of all the, the high scala of how well the body can be balanced within the pH level. And after class it dropped down to 6 point something. I think it was 6.8. So maybe all the numbers don't show you much, but he of course has sent me the photo. So have a look. So around where his thumb is, those would be the normal. This would be the normal when they're healthy, normal amounts. And that day during web class it dropped off up into 8.0. And after web class it came back down again. So his email was just so cute because it was so full of exuberance of, this is to prove that qi, a body filled with qi, cancer has to go. A chi-filled body cannot be harboring and growing more cancer um, because of his connection to the PhD level is. So I'm not sure about the science here. I am obviously we have some tackling devices, and those are medical stripes that he uses to observe his urine. But I think it is a pretty interesting story that a chemical state changes so much during hanging out in the chi field. Yeah, being filled with some information about healing and about the health of organs. And why this is so interesting is when we look at the Ke and Sheng cycle. Remember the two cycles, the controlling cycle and the nourishing cycle. So metal, the lung and large intestine, really nourish the health of water, kidney and bladder. And so lungs and kidneys both are involved into balancing the water and balancing the chemical state through the fluids. And so I think it is a very interesting observation, and thank you so much for sharing. I don't know how many of us would share the results of their own urine, but this is exactly what we are trying to work out of ourselves, increase in ourselves openness. And it can take on all sorts of funny little faces, the openness. So I think I have loved the story. I hope you liked it. If you didn't like it, then just disregard it. It's not that, But I think it's a fabulous observation and just so interesting, just so intriguing. Okay? And I did read it in this class because the story actually fits very well into the kidney and bladder class, because its urination is obviously having to do with kidney and bladder. Yeah? Okay. So let's continue on with information about kidneys and bladder. There's something that just comes to mind, really. I wonder, have you realized that he measured, there was no difference in food or drink or what it took in to change the chemical state of his body to such a high degree. It is something rather, it's a rather drastic change. He wrote, it's to achieve 8.0, so to speak, is not easy to balance the body that well on the pH level. And so I wonder if you have really recognized the power and influence of qi onto your physical body and also your chemical state of the body. Okay, it wasn't brought upon by supplements or specific diet. It was brought upon through a very healthy state, through information that wasn't even directed to that one organ, and it was brought upon about, of a very good chi field that we are creating and building together and upholding through our practice and our healthy living and our love and our determined work to make our lives better. Yeah, Qi does change your physical body. And it changes it like that. So the more you hang out in, I like this hanging out thing, the more you hang out in a good state, in a Qi field, the more moments you have, healing moments. It doesn't always have to be the sending of the Qi of a teacher to you. It doesn't always have to be the practice itself. But on that day it was information coming from a teacher in a Qi field of a teacher, and information being sent. But it wasn't think inside this part, sending Qi, it wasn't the, what most people understand under regular healing session. And still, the light is coming in. I'm just seeing Ren Shui today is being, the Ren Shui logo is being really fed with light, sunlight. It usually doesn't come over the wall, but great. We have some bright light in here. So this is, by the way, what I see on the camera. You can actually, this bright way of seeing yourself is a good way of seeing yourself. That bright is what a good Qi-filled body can look like inside. It's really very bright. And this brightness will burn away everything, just sizzle away everything that's sick. So, I've said one word today already twice. I wonder if you have heard that. It's the word catalyst. I did that on purpose because it fits very well into the kidney and bladder healing information. One job of kidneys within the kidney Qi aspects. So, what the kidney Qi is doing, it catalyzes transformation. It's the catalyst for transformation. What is a catalyst? A catalyst is something that initiates something or makes something possible to happen, or makes something happen, starts something up. Yeah? That is really interesting when we look again at the connection of metal, lungs and large intestine nourishing water, kidneys and bladder, water nourishing earth, spleen and stomach, pancreas, spleen, pancreas and stomach, which is where we're gonna go on to next, because we are going in the nourishing cycle. Maybe I should show this to you again. Maybe it's good to show you again just the cycles, because they're not easy to keep in mind, are they? They're not really that easy to keep in mind. So we're looking at the nourishing cycle right now of the two cycles, so that would be that one. And can you see? Metal is nourishing water. Water is nourishing wood. Huh? sorry, earth is standing before metal. See, this is what I mean. I mean, it's so weird. Usually I have it in my head, but then, so the earth is nourishing metal. So earth is spleen, pancreas, and stomach. And their main theme is transformation. That's one of the big themes. But we have heard a lot about transformation in metal, right? In lungs and large intestine. And water is initiating this, is catalyzing transformation. It makes it possible, actually. So when we keep looking at, pardon me, when we keep looking at the aspect of transformation and which organ is involved, I wonder if you hear the bird. There's a bird jumping around, making a lot of racket in just right there on the tree, and he jumps from branch to branch, singing along. Very cute. So transformation is a theme of several organs, actually, and the kidneys are responsible for catalyzing transformation. So in other words, if our kidney Qi is not very strong, not very healthy, not flowing well, not present in a good enough amount, then we might have problems with the aspects of wanting to change, having enough courage to change, in other words, we might have problems with putting ourselves into the position and situation in which change can happen. And kidneys are also responsible for activity in a way. So if we feel tired a lot, this has a lot to do with kidney Qi. That means when we are tired a lot, what do? We focus on strengthening our kidney Qi, and also we target to not waste or decrease a lot of kidney Qi. And so going step by step into increasing your kidney Qi will bring you not only more energy, which is the job of the kidneys, to store your energy. Storage is the big theme of kidneys and bladder. More kidneys, bladder is responsive to release what is not needed to be stored, but it is part of storing, right? Part of storage. So when we cannot initiate transformation, when we cannot initiate change, so in other words, when our kidney Qi is not yet strong enough, can you see, we might have some problematic situations happening here. If we aren't capable of knowing, if we aren't capable of coming to the conclusion and then making a decision that we need to change something, how are we ever going to be able to change something? So when we are sick and we want to get to healthy, what is necessary? some form of change, right? Some form of transformation. But if we cannot conclude, become aware of, become conscious of the need for change, then we probably have a serious situation on our hands. That is why we have disease often, because that shows us, this brings us the awareness. Hey, honey, there is something wrong within you. That's what the universe is saying. You know, some way of thinking or behaving isn't good for you. I'll send you some of this pain or some of this disease, so you go ahead and you change something. Look into changing. Catalyze some change. Since physical symptoms have often built up over years and years, and I think what is interesting is when you work individually with people and with their health, and you are, as you go along for the patterns, and when you look at when patterns have been established, or when patterns have been birthed, so to speak, when they have been first become active. Often 20 years seems to be something that is quite, that number comes up very often. So, 20, 30 years or 15 years, I mean, let's just expand it a little bit to not be stuck on 20, not that anybody runs out and says everything starts up 20 years ago. It's just a number that keeps popping up. The more I work with humans, again and again there have been either experiences 20 years ago of the diagnosis, or 25 years, 15, everything in this realm, but can you become aware of the scale of life years that Kidney Chi has been trying to tell you something, trying to tell us something maybe, and we haven't heard it. Why? Because we haven't known about Chi. We haven't been in a deep enough state, in a relaxed, calm and natural state to feel the Chi blocking. We haven't been able to use Chi as the gauge of what's going on an informational level in our system. And so this is a big topic for us humans. Once it's in the body, it's easy to detect something. It's easy to detect that it needs a change. But what if it's only in the Chi? And what if it's only in Shen as a thought pattern? When we have thought patterns, in other words, when we have a belief system, then we have this belief system, right? We think what we think is right, or a reality. We think what we think is how the situation is. We have explanations for it. We have whole stories ready to be able to explain some situations or aspects in our life. Oh yeah, I react like this because of the, or I feel like this because of the. And the more such a belief system runs with the also belief system of the common consciousness, the when a whole group believes the same thing, it gets even stronger. What if this does not go with the laws of the universe? So, in other words, when we keep thinking these thoughts and act out after these thoughts in habits and behaviors, we do damage our chi and we lose much more chi. We don't gather more chi. It's not beneficial for us whatsoever. So remember last week I've talked to you a little bit about how kidneys are involved into yuan chi, into your prenatal chi, the chi that is determining your whole life, not just this life in this body. So it has to do a lot with the overall life health, but of course it also has to do a lot with this life. So kidney chi is not only very important for our previous lives and our future lives, it is very important for this life in the body. Because kidneys are nourishing our brain, and because to a degree, on a physical level, the brain is involved in making decisions because it regulates a lot of chemical balance within our body. Have you heard people say, "Oh, that's because of the chemical balance in his brain is off"? When someone is having emotional problems or when someone is having mental problems, often, science leads it back to chemical balance in the brain. But when you know about chi and about the foundation of this material that we call brain is kidney chi, so if you know that kidney chi comes through either, Yuan Gong or any good type of Qigong practice, because you get more through eating and breathing, because that's where you get the chi of food and the chi of air, and through resting, because when you rest you don't use or waste so much chi, you don't deplete so much chi. So healthy thinking has a lot to do with healthy kidney chi. Being able to understand things has a lot to do with kidney chi as well. There's another very interesting aspect about this whole concept. Let's just branch out into another different aspect of what kidneys do, but it fits really well in here. So kidney chi opens into the ears. So one of the senses for the kidneys is the ears, the hearing. Have you ever heard of the term emotional hearing or selective hearing? When someone is being told something in a group of people about that one person, and the whole group of people takes it on as something positive, but that one person takes it on and hears something and takes it on as something negative and reacts in an unhealthy way to it. The reason for that is kidney chi and the health, strength, or the state of your kidney chi. So when our kidney chi is healthy, our ears function well. For example, the hearing in itself if we hear well, in terms of physical hearing, that what the H and O, okay, hold on, that's the name of the, in German, the name of the ear doctor is HNO Arzt. What is the name of an ear doctor? The doctor who takes care of the ears in English? I don't think I've ever heard that name. I don't know it, but maybe you know it, or you can look it up. But ear doctor should be working fine. The olfactory would be the nose. Well, they usually take care of nose, ears, and throat, because in Western medicine these guys go together. So anyway, let's come to. So the hearing and the strength of hearing in itself has to do with kidney chi, the physical hearing, the ability to hear. But there is much more with that. Being able to hear the truth. If your kidney chi decides, if your kidney chi is not aware of a wrong thought pattern, a wrong belief system. Remember, wrong in Ren Shui always means not beneficial for development of health and wisdom, meaning not going with the laws of the universe, not flowing with the chi. It is damaging the chi and therefore life at some stage. Yeah? So that's what I mean with wrong, because this is a big problem, not only for one human, it's a problem for human society and all of the human race. Who is right and who is wrong? And kidney chi is hugely involved into this. So kidney chi is helping to hear, and we take on a lot of information consciously over the ears. We get, of course, much more information via the Shen. But hearing is one of the big ways of how we take in information that we take on conscious, that we take on as real. Most people don't know about that Shen is receiving the transmission of information like a Wi-Fi tower, that we can take on information from other people's brains and Shen, I would like to say rather, minds, or other objects, inanimate or animate. Our Shen is picking up information constantly, right? And that also has to do with kidney chi, because kidneys are, together with the heart, housing Shen. They help the heart to house Shen, the mind. But Shen is more, right? Shen is mind, soul, heart, thought processes, intellect. All of that is within Shen. All of the mental abilities is Shen. And so kidney chi is so involved in all of this, but when we look at the one aspect of hearing right now, right? How do most people think they do get information? How do most people think they do learn? Through looking, they see what others do, for example their parents, and then start copying behavior. They can see something like water. They cannot see something like chi, even so every human being can learn that. And hearing, they hear information, they hear things that are told to them. Oh, seeing, of course, also has a lot to do with reading as well, the things we read, right? This is very important that we take in because humanity is based on reading information, and because it's written down, a lot of people draw the very direct conclusion that because it's written down, it's a reality. Just because something is written down does not necessarily make it reality, universal reality. That's an interesting aspect if we look at, for example, religious books, you know. Anyway, I'll let you go off into this direction with your thoughts yourself. We come back to the hearing, what we hear. Where have you learned a lot of everything? Because obviously you could not read before you were of a certain age. So the age between 1 to 6, most people. When can you read freely? Let's say 8, 9. When can you read really high developed texts, high educational texts of how people call it? 20, 21, 15, 16, 17? When are we capable of reading high education? Anyway, so basically for the first 5, let's say 7 years, most of our information that we think is reality comes in through where? Exactly, the ears. Most people actually don't even know that they base their whole life decisions on what they have heard between 0 and 7, 8, 9, 10 years, or 15. What we have heard is often what we take as truth. Always backed up by experiences, of course. But when someone tells you, when you are doing this, you will be forgiven. When you're doing this, you will be safe. You know, when you are doing this, or we do this because, so we are safe, or, I mean, I think it's always very interesting and very beneficial for life when we're in a very good and healthy state and in a very good chi field in which a lot of chi is present, so we can we can think about some negative aspects of life. We need to think about them at some stage because we need to find solutions to how to change this. So when we think about where have I been? The things we've heard. So let's go to a negative aspect, you know, people who are being subjected to things like brainwashing, like someone speaking to a whole group of people over and over and over again and telling them, for example, if you kill people, you will be free. You will have a lot of virgins and you will have fulfilled the will of whatever God you call it then, Allah or God or Buddha or Buddha actually is not a god. in the Hinduism they have so many gods, and pardon me. every single one of those deities has a whole story, and we are being told as children that we do this, it's good for this and this god. If we do this, it's good for Lakshmi. If you do this, it's good for Ganesh. If you do this, it's good for Arjun. I mean, that's Bhagavad Gita. That's the Upanishad. So that's the Hinduistic gods, just a few of them. But so not everybody thinks immediately only of Islam, and but that's what currently happens a lot, right? People go out and kill in the name of Allah, but I have lived in a Muslim country. I have Muslim friends, not many, but I mean, you don't have to go in a country. In Austria there's a lot of Muslims, and they're getting more right now because they're all fleeing from a few people who have been brainwashed themselves, I reckon, who have been told that all the time, that they have to kill in the name of Allah, and now they are going ahead and they believe this. So what I want to make is, I want to help you try to see the point of hearing truth is a huge ability that has a lot to do with kidney chi. When your kidney chi is too weak, you might end up believing whatever anybody says. Because you can't filter it. Because the kidney chi is so weak that the processes cannot be done to catalyst, to start up the necessary need for change. Since kidney chi is nourishing our Shen, it has a lot to do with our ability of a deep, relaxed and calm state. So kidney chi is in very direct connection to our ability to be in a very good state. If we don't have a very healthy state, calm, relaxed, natural, uplifted, in a deep, calm, harmonic state of joy, the presence of all of this, a peaceful state. This word says it all. If we are not in a healthy state which is peaceful, we cannot uphold peace as a human society. We cannot make healthy decisions. We cannot catalyst healthy change because we cannot see it. We cannot come to the conclusion. Where does change begin? When you take the action? No. When you know that you need to change something? No. When you are becoming aware that you need to change something. And this is what kidney chi is sustaining, making possible. Because it does fill the brain, which is the anatomical basis for Shen Qi, the Qi of our overall mind, and all of its activities and all of its abilities. Because it also is, in Chinese medicine, what they say is that fear is the mother of all emotions. let's have a look. Why are we getting angry? Why are we being worried? Why are we being sad? It all comes back to fear, right? It's some form of fear. So fear is regarded as the mother of all emotions. Which organ, chi, is taking care of fear? The kidneys. In other words, can you imagine if you have a lot of fear, you don't have very strong kidney chi. If you have very strong kidney chi, you don't have fear so much. This is the reason, for example, for PTSD. You might have been, it seems I'm a bit stuck on the army theme today. You might be a really well-functioning soldier. You have been told that you are doing a lot of good. You are upholding the peace. And you firmly believe this. Your whole society has told you that. Everybody thinks an army is necessary because we have the right to defend ourselves. If we would all work with chi, I know it's a bit utopian to think this way, but if we would all work with chi, we would all have very strong kidney chi, and none of us would have the need to defend ourselves, to protect ourselves. We would feel perfectly safe, and we wouldn't have to tell any children any lies of having to kill others, and we also wouldn't have to send out any of our soldiers. Not that Austria is sending out a lot of soldiers, but I have a lot of American students and a lot of American friends. And other countries as well actually do send out quite a lot of soldiers. Kidney chi and all the chi that's connected to it could be such a key to having a peaceful world. It would be very simple. But let's come to the reality for how it is right now. This, what I've been speaking of, will be the reality of the future if we manage to go into this direction, if more people will start to see and start to understand and start to use the power of chi, their third aspect of what they are as a human being, the body, the mind, and chi, forms a total reality. Only with working on all three aspects, we will be healthy. We will find solutions to the problems that humanity faces right now. And one of those problems is PTSD. So you might be a functioning soldier for 10 years, for 15 years. It doesn't really matter for how long and how seasoned you are. If your kidney chi is being used up through all the fear, every time you feel fear, every time you feel adrenaline, is the other one, right? I've talked about adrenaline last session. Because a lot of people say, I'm not scared, but they feel a lot of adrenaline rush. So if you're doing this for years and years and years, your kidney chi is getting weaker and weaker, your shen chi is getting weaker and weaker, your mind chi is getting weaker and weaker. And if you then have a traumatic experience, and you see something that you have dealt maybe 30 times with already, but all of a sudden you have all sorts of symptoms And PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, has a lot of symptoms in a lot of different aspects of life. And you don't have to be a soldier to have that. If you're living in an abusive relationship, you can deal with it maybe for 10 years. But it might be that one day your kidney chi is used up and you can turn mentally sick from one day to the other. Of course, we know that it hasn't happened in one day to the other. The kidney chi has been used up and used up and used up, and at one time the scales were just, there was, kidney chi kept it in the balance, and then whoop. Once the kidney chi is used up too much, Shen cannot function perfectly anymore. And yes, some people become mentally sick. There is another aspect coming in. Can you see? There's a common understanding that, it's not normal for a kid to be mentally sick. So they have some time to waste some chi. Or when we look at the lives of sociopaths and psychopaths, often there is some tendencies in them that probably has to do with something what they've lived through in the life before, and with why they would have chosen to maybe live with an abusive parent. But if they have gone through very traumatic changes within their parents, for example, you've heard, there's stories of mothers loving only one child and the other child being completely ignored, and that child is turning into a problematic human being and is being locked up in our society. Which, if they cause danger for others, it needs happening. But what they also need is healing. What they also need is love and compassion. They need to be explained that their mother was sick. So how can you help people with PTSD and with mental issues? If you can increase the kidney chi, you can increase the healthy chi of Shen. I really want to say here, not only kidney chi, of course. As you see through the nourishing cycle and the controlling cycle, all of the organ chi should be healthy, must be healthy probably, to be able to hold a balance. So one organ doesn't need to do the job for another. It can do that for a while, and that's good. So we have some fluctuation space. But, we should really take care of all the organ chi. Again, as we go along and have, go through organs step by step, we will see more and more, and I hope you get a bigger picture of why working with totality is necessary. So you can balance all the organs at the same time. So kidney chi is really one aspect, because it is taking care of your prenatal chi, the chi that comes from parents and from yuan chi, from the chi that from outside. And it nourishes and fills the brain and houses, or helps to house the mind together with the heart. So all these thinking processes are determining how we see our life. And hearing has a lot to do with it. When you can't hear the truth, how are you going to tune into your surroundings in a healthy way? In this world, if you cannot tune into the universal laws, if you cannot tune into your surrounding of a chi field, if you cannot tune into the singing of a bird, and the beauty of nature and the beautiful actions that you hear, for example, music, or when people tell each other to love each other, when they talk to each other in a helpful way, when we cannot tune into our surroundings, which is, a big sense or a big action of what is governed by ears, how are you going to stay healthy and happy? How are you going to stay happy? And if you don't stay happy, with happy we mean this calm, peaceful sense of joy, right? The sense of fulfillment, the absence of fear, and the presence of peace and harmony. That's what we understand in joy. Then how are you going to be healthy if you can't be happy? Since this state has to do very directly with your physical health, because it has to do with what your chi is doing. So taking care of our kidney chi takes care of our health of the ears. So all the aspects on a physical level of hearing, tinnitus in German and tinnitus, I think, in English, the whistling in the ears, a hearing loss. Balance also happens in the ear. When all of these things, nausea also happens often within the ear. When dizziness, maybe I should say, not nauseous, sorry, dizziness. Tuning into our surrounding, connecting with our outside world, has to do with hearing, has to do with kidney chi. Understanding has to do with kidney chi. So kidney chi and the health of kidney chi is hugely involved in all of your decisions. Basically, it determines hugely of how you live your life. Do you go left or right? When you go left, you end up in a beautiful park with birds. When you go right, you end up in an alley where there is another sick human being that is very unbalanced and not tuned in and does who knows what to you. But you have turned off, you have made a decision. When your kidney chi is healthy, your shen chi is healthy, and you can tune into the chi field around you. We all have a big step to learn there, to work, to strengthen our kidney chi. So we do not end up in situation where we then get to say, well, I did not bring myself into this situation, it was an accident. This is an interesting aspect, isn't it? And this has a lot to do with kidney chi, because kidney chi also carries our individual information from life to life to life, from life to universal consciousness that we turn into, and then we turn back into an individual where our individual information is being formed into destiny, or our individual law is very influential here. So you can do a lot of thinking around that yourself, but who has brought you to that place where the drunken driver has driven over you? Who has made the decision to walk on that street, or stand on that street, or that place where you have been, or drive on that street where you have been? If our Shen has the potency to receive information from past, present and future, why did we go there? Maybe our Shen Chi was not strong enough So maybe we did not have what, you know, humanity right now calls it premonitions or foresight or even psychic abilities. All of these words are just definitions. It all comes back to the simple thing that our Shen is like an antenna, and information is sent out and coming back and sent out and received it. And this antenna receives all the information of all the universe, definitely of everywhere in the planet. And if we can perceive what will happen in that street in the next 10 minutes and there is an accident, then we will not go there. We will stay here and call the ambulance because in 5 minutes there is going an accident. Or maybe we do it something even better. We do something so that driver doesn't. Well, if everybody is like that, then probably accidents won't happen anymore either. Me personally, I know that for a fact because I used to be prone to accidents on a physical level, so you could call it injuries, constantly. I constantly had injuries, not only results from sports, from extreme sports, wild sports, like snowboarding and windsurfing and mountain bike downhill racing and things like this, just falling into pit holes or hitting my head. And, people call it clumsy often. But it could be awareness and your Shen wasn't present, and that has to do with a huge amount of kidney chi. Not only kidney chi, but, kidney chi, literally in Chinese medicine, it's called, it fills the brain. How do we feel when someone else has caused something in our life, like an accident? We feel complete loss of control, and often what happens then is complete loss of security. And often we have quite intense ramifications in our life because of that. People have started up, it was the catalyst for addictions often, because suddenly we have deep fear of something, and most people don't have a lot of wisdom to be able to make this connection. They don't understand to make this connection, that somewhere that they can look into oneself and see, where have I lost the strength of my Shen, and why did I make this decision to turn off here to be at this place at that time. This might be a problem, or no, not might, this is a problem in humanity, because we cannot all really, we shouldn't be able to resort to just go ahead and sue that person, because they were not aware, or they were not supposed to be in so much suffering, so they were drunk. To be a drunk driver, you have to be pretty screwed up, I would say, so that is called sick on some level, either the emotional one or the mental level. If everybody starts taking care of our kidney chi, of the kidney chi of themselves, our decisions will become better, and we will catalyze different situations in our life. As a single individual human being, as a family, as a human society, a like-minded groups, and as whole of humanity altogether. If we are capable of tuning into our surroundings in a totality kind of way, meaning we can tune into the beauty and the balanced the fine balance of the ecosystem, at the same time as we have the need to defend our countries, we probably will never start up an atomic bomb again in our lives. it seems that this is what happens anyway, thank God. So it seems that the kidney chi of the humanity is getting a bit better. um, one specific aspect of kidney chi, and because we are today on the aspect that kidney chi has on the brain and the mind, the Shen, and because Shen tends to have a tiny little bit of influence on our life, all of life actually, we have we can look at also the quality that is has to do with a very specific in the I'm just thinking what is the category I'm looking at. Hold on, let me just have a look real quick. You remember when I talked to you about lungs, I told you that the aspect is the corporal soul. That I'm just trying to find the overall definition here. That aspect in the kidneys is Qi, the will. I really would like to have, let me just have a look. Wisdom, if I can find the, just the category of how it's categorized. If I can find it anywhere. Let me have a look in the lungs, if I can find it there. Okay. I have found the place. Give me just 1 second. I will just call this up for a moment. I really would like to give you the definition because it's quite an important definition, and it's, for us to have as information. I have to laugh a bit now. Okay, so the definition under which we have the level or definition we're looking at is the Shen aspect. So maybe at this time I give you the whole spectrum. For wood or liver, it is Hun, the ethereal soul. Fire, the heart, is Shen. Spleen, so earth and spleen, is Yi, thought. The lungs or metal is Po, the corporal soul, we talked about this, and kidneys or water is Qi, the will. So those are all Shen aspects, right? We have the ethereal soul, we have all of mind activities, the whole of Shen, we have Yi, thought, we have Po, the corporal soul, so the soul of the body, and Qi, the will. So that's in Chinese medicine. that's a distinction of how Chinese medicine is defining all the different aspects of Shen. Yeah? Um, but they all make up Shen, and the heart has, so to speak, the mastering place of all the Shen aspects, and the liver is taking care of the ethereal soul, so what you guys understand usually under the name soul, and then spleen is taking care of all of the thoughts, thought processes and thinking, conscious, subconscious, but thinking processes, so the more the intellect, the mind, E, and the lungs is taking care of the soul of the body, yeah? So all the body psychology, or maybe you could connect also this word to have a better understanding of psychosomatic, is a term that is used in this idea, psychosomatic symptoms. It's coming from the corporal soul, the body consciousness, and all the information that's stored within the physical, in DNA, genetics, muscle tissues, fascia, and so on. And kidneys, the Shen aspect is the will. Shi, Z-H-I, that's how you write it. So the will and our free will. I just see I only have 5 minutes, but I think actually I've taken care of a lot about the will and free will and what is free will. Can you see how it's ruled by the kidneys? And I think it's becoming clear through looking at the topic of kidney chi being a catalyst for transformation. And also well, maybe we should just look at the free will next week a little bit in It is taking care to a big degree today, because now you have a lot of food for thought to use and see for how and where your decisions come from. Your judgments come from, your notions come from. How is your Shen operating? Where does the information that you do base your judgments on come from? And you do base your decisions on your judgments. So the will is coming. Where is free will coming from? Or, what has free will to do with our decisions? Is it, because it's so, it's a really big theme in humanity that we are all, standing up for our free will to make decisions. But the will is also in other aspects. So the will to live, the will to what necessary decisions do I have to make and what necessary actions do I have to take out of free will to be healthy? Do I have to take care of my chi if I want to be healthy? What do you think? Do I have to work with chi, and do I have to work with my consciousness, with the way I think, the way my belief systems work, my consciousness patterns, the way I react, the way I live my life, the way I behave? Do I need to use my will to change something? Do I need strong will? So do I want to catalyze change? And when kidney chi is weak, it's very difficult often to only just make yourself practice, for those of us who are practicing already. Or, the will, the free will, or the will for motivation, the will to do something, the will to get something done that would be very beneficial for health, or the will to, the will to learn about totality. Once you know about totality, once you know about you have to take care of chi, body, and your shen in order to be healthy, to have this will, a lot of people don't have that will yet because their kidney chi is not strong enough to reach everywhere. Or it is stunted by fear. So kidney chi is responsible for fear, but if kidney chi is stunted, really, hindered, blocked and kept back, hindered, when it's restricted from fear, we don't have the will to change a situation. So, in other words, fear is basically eating up will. And we need a very strong will if we want to develop wisdom, if we want to take care self-responsibly, if we want to carry responsibility, full responsibility for everything in our life, we need a very strong will. And that's what we need very strong kidney chi for. So it doesn't always have to do with the will for living. I want to live comes often from a very strong kidney chi. And when we don't have that, we often don't want to live. Or that would be the reason for why humans don't want to live. So you can work, once we get to the class, with implementation of healing kidney and bladder. You can use that class then for a while to do it every day, or to take what you have learned there and do those exercises by yourself without the class every day, and just strengthen your kidney chi and focusing on kidney chi to how to strengthen it. Yeah? All of what we've heard last time and today is information that you can use to figure out in better ways of how to take care of your kidney chi. And so you will make your life better, but if you make your life better, you also make the life of every single one of us better. So thank you. Thank you for facing your fears and taking care of your kidney chi. Okay, let's draw chi back. First, if you have sit cross-legged, relax your legs, open them up. Draw your vision back. Bring your hands back to your kidneys. Imagine that your hands are pushing in the whole chi field of today into your kidneys. Rub your kidneys, rub chi and information in deeply. Kidneys are healthy, well and healthy. Rub the kidneys. And then start vibrating to guide chi down. Guide the chi down, the sacrum, the pelvis, the hips, the outer thighs, outside of the knees, down the legs, ankles, outside of the feet, toes, feet, the inside of the feet, the ankles, inside. Vibrate up, inside of the legs. Make sure. Vibrate up the knees. Vibrate chi in your knees. Vibrate chi around the whole knees, the top of the knees, the outside the knees, the front of the knees, and again the top, and then the inside again. Sitting cross-legged is a very fabulous way for kidney chi. If your back is up and arched slightly, yes, then it's very beneficial for kidney chi. With a rounded out back, not as beneficial. Vibrate up in the thighs, vibrate your groin, and come back to Dantian, nourish chi in Dantian. Open your Shen into all of the chi field and draw chi back to the center of your head. Information is being stored. Shen is nourished and filled by healthy kidney chi. The function of storage is functioning perfectly, and this information is stored within you infinitely to benefit the whole of your life. And then open to the chi field and draw chi back to lower Dantian. Nourish chi. And you can go ahead and keep nourishing chi in this very good state. Keep allowing the information to work. Remember the story. Hanging out in a chi field is changing the chemical balance of your body and therefore also brain. Right now, in this state, is one of the healthiest things we all can do for ourselves and each other. And you can continue to be in this state and just do the head and face before you open your eyes yourselves. Shia Shia, thank you.